everybody. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Truth podcast. And today I am joined by Mike Armstrong, and he is the owner of MA Consulting, and he's a sales and marketing company. I like that aspect because so many people, that's where they fail, is sales, because without sales, you got a hobby. Right?
That's
Welcome
right,
to the
yeah.
show, Mike. How are you today?
Oh, I'm awesome. I'm always awesome. I love life.
Oh man, you know what? I love people like that. And I think you have a heart for people too. And you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Just to help others to get to where you're at, and to help others to, make a little money with what they're doing, you
yeah,
know?
exactly. I think, life can be tough, and I think if you actually get help and if you can give help when you're in a position to be able to, then life's a lot better for everyone.
It is when we all help each other out, it's so much better. I don't believe in competition. I don't,
No, no,
because
me
there's
neither.
enough for everyone kind of thing.
That's right. I'm into collaboration, not competition.
Absolutely. And I'm the same way. And a lot of people in the online space, I think, are giving and loving people now. I think before there was a lot of people out there that was like, out to make a buck, and who cares what happens to the person, but I think that's changed a lot, especially with COVID, but even before that. Do you see the same thing?
Yeah, definitely. I think people are starting to understand that the world isn't a competition, and resources aren't scarce. There's plenty to go around, and actually you can end up with a better life and a more fulfilled life by actually helping other people to achieve what they want to achieve. You've got more chance of actually achieving what you want to achieve in the process.
Yeah, because we all work together, and totally think that. Tell me a little bit about what made you want to become an entrepreneur in the first place.
Whew. So I started my entrepreneurial journey early. I started at about 11. My mum and dad,
Wow.
yeah, a long time ago now. And my mum and dad got divorced at 8. So I suppose I sort of started out a bit of this necessity. I wasn't poor. I wasn't one of those entrepreneurs that had a very poor upbringing. I had a happy upbringing. My mum always worked. She bought us birthdays and Christmas presents, etc. But if I wanted anything else outside of that, then I suppose I needed to bring some money in. So if I wanted to do, my own entertainment, my own activities, my own social life, whatever. If I wanted things over and above birthdays and Christmases and just the roof over my head and the meals, the bills and all that, I wanted any more than that. I had to go out and earn it. So I started, buying and selling things and just trading and selling. I used to film, I used to record films off Sky Movies and sell them to the kids in school. It's probably called copyright. It's probably called copyright infringement, but at the time I was just being an I was being an entrepreneurial young kid, doing whatever I could to earn a bit of money,
Yeah, and things, some people are born with it. I really believe there's a gene for the entrepreneurial bug, and we kind of weed our wade through the waters and stuff like that when we're younger. And yeah, I did the same thing. I was like 13. I had an idea for wrestling figures, but my parents weren't really entrepreneurs, so they didn't know what to do. This was before Vince McMahon bought the idea for $6.5 million.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
missed the boat on that one, but you know what? That's just the kind of mindset that you need. Was there any challenges, either internal or external, that you had to face while on your journey to becoming where you are today?
Um, I think I'm quite lucky, really, that I think one of the biggest challenges to entrepreneurial success or success in any way is mindset. And that was
Mhm.
one thing I've always been blessed with. I think my mum was a very sort of confident woman, and she sort of educated me and gave faith into me that I could be anything I wanted to be. I was also, luckily, I was quite academic as a kid, but also I was good at sports as well. And I got used to winning. I got used to a winning mentality. I was the
Mhm.
fastest boy in junior school running. When I played rugby in high school, we won the league and cup double for the first 3 years. So I just got used to winning. And so early on, I got a winning mindset and a winning mentality, and a mentality that everything is possible. And I suppose that's just carried me through life, really. So having the right mindset, I love a quote. You either can or you can't, but either way, you're right.
Yeah,
And
Henry Ford. Henry
yeah,
Ford said that. Yep.
yeah, and ultimately, if you go into something, with the belief that you can grow it big, and that's the other thing as well, big thinking. Not many people think big, so they're actually just bumbling along with small incremental growth. But actually, if you think big and you aim big, and then you put the plan in place, backwards, and start off with doing the things you need to do to reach that plan, then you can get there much better. So I was blessed, I think, with, don't know where I got it, whether I picked it up as a kid or whether it was in me already or whatever. But I was blessed with the attributes to keep growing and keep developing. Again, during the lockdown, for example, I probably read and listened to like 14 books, books and
Mhm.
audio books, and I've been a
Yep.
lifelong learner. And so I'm into, because I was into sport, I was into marginal gains and just getting better and better and better and better. Whereas a lot of people, they stop learning when they leave school, or they might learn a little bit more in their job, but they stop learning whenever they can stop learning, and they don't want to develop and grow themselves or their business beyond that level. I think that's where the majority of people sit. And I've never had that mindset, so I've always strived to be, better next year than I am this year. And to have the effects of life that's noticeable, so that you are improving and getting better all of the time. And I was a little bit unlucky during the global credit crunch. I ended up with some financial problems because I ended up committing into a 5-year mortgage at 6.25% when everyone else was on like 2% because of
Yeah.
the drop down rate. So, and it ended up causing some stresses in my relationship, and I ended up getting divorced. And so, I had to start from scratch at like 33. I'm 42 now. I had to start from scratch, 33, 35, something like that. I don't know, don't think back too much about that time, but I plateaued for a while and, lost a bit of direction. I was always going like on a trajectory like that all my life, really, fast growing and successful. And, I got promoted 9 times in 6 years in a 10-year career at a tech
Wow.
startup. Yeah, because I was hungry. I wasn't like most people, thinking small. I was thinking big. I wasn't like most people working 9 till 5 and flying out the door at 5 to 5 or whatever. I was working sort of 8 till half 6 or even later some evenings. I was going traveling around the country, doing meetings, coming home, doing the proposals late at night so it didn't impact my next day, so I could do more meetings. So I was just
Mhm.
had a different mindset, and I always believed act as if. So like I used to act as if I was doing the job above me till they give it to me. So, I was one of those. And like now I tell people say, oh, I can't get a job. I've handed in loads of CVs. Nobody will interview me, whatever, blah, 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 blah. And I always say, have you actually gone to the business you want to work in and say, listen, I really, really, really want to work here that much that I'm willing to work here for a week for free or for until you take me on for free? Because I don't know any business owner in the world that would refuse that. You know what I mean? Well, you're that passionate and enthusiastic about my job and about my business that you're going to work for free. Yeah. And I don't know any business that if you do a good job in that first week or however long it is it going to pay you for the job? So to me, it's like a common sense, easy strategy, and I've been doing that strategy all my life. If I wanted to be sales manager, I do the act as if as an assistant manager or as the sales manager, cover when the sales manager's on holiday, and just start doing the job. Eventually, they give it to you.
That absolutely. See, that's a teaching of Les Brown. Les Brown, motivational speaker, say
I
he
love
wanted to
Les
work at,
Brown.
yeah, he wanted to work at the radio station. Said, man, he kept going, bugging him every single day, every single day. He says, hey, I don't know, somebody could have quit, somebody could have died, I don't know, but I'll volunteer, I'll do anything. And that is the mindset of successful people, because those
Yeah,
people will just, I mean, are you going to hire the guy on the street that just puts an application in and you have no idea what this person even looks like, you know nothing about them, but you got this guy that wants to work every day, that guy is there every day, he's asking for something to do. That's the guy you're going to hire when an opening comes up.
yeah,
It's not going to
yeah,
be some
definitely.
guy on the paper or a resume or anything like that. It's the guys that go right to the job or right to the thing and say, hey, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm learning to get there. I did that. I actually did that and became a case manager for a welfare to work organization here.
Yeah,
Volunteered, did whatever, took other people's, jobs when they weren't there and stuff, and just did everything, you know.
Yeah, but I've been volunteering as a podcaster on a mission to become a global speaker for 6 months because I don't get paid for podcasting. I'm just committed to it because I know at some point I'll get paid for podcasting and I'll get paid for speaking. You know, sometimes you just got to do the hard graft and the hard yards to make a name for yourself. But I think too many people this day and age, especially, they're not prepared to do the hard yards. They're not prepared to make a name for themselves. So they want everything given to them or handed to them on a plate. And that's the problem, you know?
You have so many good ideas because the thing is leaders are readers. So you mentioned books, you mentioned always bettering yourself. You don't stand still. And I think when you stand still, that's a danger to you because you don't go forward if you're just sitting there and
Yeah, well, actually,
complaining. And yeah,
yeah, standing still is actually going backwards
yes,
because the pace of the world is so fast these days that if you're actually not going anywhere, you're going backwards and you're going backwards fast. And you've got to sort of, you know, keep going forward. At the end of the day, you know, life's about building momentum in a direction that you're heading. And if you can keep going forward and keep that momentum going, then you'll get to whatever you want to get to much quicker. If you allow momentum to drop and it stop, start, you know, it's like pushing a car. You know, you can never get the thing going because it's too heavy and it's not enough of you pushing. But if you keep the momentum going and you just really just keep pushing in one direction and you get a few people to help you push in that direction, once it actually gets going, then as long as you don't stop it going, it'll just keep going. You can push it with a finger.
absolutely. Absolutely. So you have a marketing firm that you started. Describe to me what you do for people and how that works.
Yeah, so basically, I help people to think bigger in their marketing because most people play at marketing. They think they're marketing their business, but actually they're playing at it. They're not doing anywhere near the levels they need to do to get the success that they're hoping for or that they want. So I get them to realize that and to understand that and to actually start thinking about the big picture of marketing, the 360 degrees of opportunity available to themselves in order to promote and market their business. And often, you know, most businesses that I speak to and deal with and come across, they're often operating between sort of maybe, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 to 90 degrees, you know, and
Mm,
there's a whole 270 degrees of marketing they haven't discovered yet.
yes. Yes.
So I help them discover those things, and then I help them do activity and create content for those areas. Plus, I help them come up with systems and processes to be able to. Because the reason most people don't reach all of those degrees is because they're full in their time and their capacity in the degrees that they're doing. It's not
Mhm.
enough degrees for them to promote their business enough, but they think it's fine because it's all I can do. But they haven't learned efficiency, systems, technology. They haven't learned a lot of things that you can learn to actually mean that you can do those 90 degrees in, say, 25% of your time, which means that you can then do the other 270 in the other 75% of your time, which you've gained back by learning clever techniques and systems and processes that you didn't think you had before, and therefore haven't looked at any other ways of reaching out to people because you just didn't think you had enough time to be able to try anything else.
People get lost in marketing. I totally believe that. I believe that it's like, okay, I got Facebook ads or I'll do that, or I'm on Instagram and I'm this and I'm that. And, it's so much and every platform's different. And
Yeah.
the thing is, you have to perfect what your message is on those platforms to gain success. But the thing is I think that people just are in overwhelm. Do you see that too?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think also most people these days, because they're not willing to give that hard yards, that hard graft, they're actually not willing to do what needs to be done to start getting some results. So basically, they start doing stuff, and if they don't do enough of it or see some results quick enough, they give in. And often,
Mm,
they're just not, because sometimes people look at like some Instagrammers and some influencers or whatever, and they think, oh, that's easy. And then what they don't understand is the world is different now than it was when those guys started anyway. So it was easier at that time, just like places like TikTok are easier to go viral now than they were before because they're
right,
fast breeding ground, etc. Yeah.
right.
But actually, in most platforms, people young entrepreneurs now, they look at other people, they go, oh yeah, I can do that. And then they start putting out some content, wherever, don't get anywhere quickly and go, oh, I can't do that. And then they move on to something else and they just keep trying the next fad and the next thing and whatever. And really what you've got to do is just work on a strategy that actually invests in all of the platforms all of the time, or the ones that are best for your target audience to reach them, depending on, if you've got a cross sort of diversified, diversification product, which reaches out to a lot of people, or whether you've got a niche product, which is going after a certain target audience, you find out where those target audiences is, and then you just keep marketing constantly, different messages, variety of content, but not just, sales and marketing messages and that, but also value messages. What value can you do and give to those people? What value can you give to their lives? How you can help them, etc. And over time, you'll build up relationships with the right people. They'll get to trust you because of the value you've already offered, and they'll come back to you when they need other things that you haven't already given them, and they'll come and buy them off you because they trust you.
Absolutely. No, I totally get it. And the thing is, what is the biggest thing that you see people come through, that you help? Because I want to be very specific. What is the biggest thing that you see with people that are trying to market but absolutely failing at it? What are they failing at? Is it mental? Is it just knowledge? Or is it that stick-to-itiveness that you were talking about, or going hard at it? What is the biggest thing that you see from people coming to you?
Yeah, so I see differences. Obviously, all people are different, but some of the trends that you see that people get it wrong is some people who are too salesy are too selling, and they're not giving enough. So that can happen, and people get switched off. They don't want to follow it because nobody wants to watch the telly and just see adverts all day long. You know what I mean? So you've got to sort of mix those adverts in amongst the programming, the content, the stuff that people actually will tune in for. And then you get people who have been told not to sell and market too much on social media, so they're putting a load of programming out, but they're actually not getting anything with it, because there's no conversion rates, there's no urgency creation, there's no call to actions, there's nothing. So I would say there's two extremes there of people. Yeah, I would say in America, for example, they're probably more salesy and they're probably more suffering with that, and they need to put more content in. In the UK, they're frightened of upsetting people and too reserved. So actually, they don't do enough marketing. So they're hitting social media and they're just being too social. They're being too social for the tool to actually benefit from the marketing and the sales element of it, which is the business bit of it. So to me, it's not, I don't use social media for social at all. I use it as social media marketing. They're marketing tools, but you've got to be social in your marketing approach, and you've got to be able to offer and deliver value. So those two extremes are areas where people get it wrong. And then you've got the technical extreme. So anyone my age and above, really, I was like right cutting edge of people into tech. 42. My brother's 44. I'm 42. He didn't do computer studies in school. I did computer studies at GCSE and I had a grade A. So I was instantly into tech at the time it come into school and into it. I really enjoyed it and liked it, etc. Yeah. So everyone sort of like above my age, really, they're not so into tech. They're not like brought up with tech. So I had a computer at like 11 and did a lot of my coursework on it.
Mm-hmm.
I was brought up with tech. I was interested in it. I try everything that I see that comes out, apps and everything. I'm immersed in tech, and most people younger than me are as well. But there's an age group above that isn't natural towards tech, and everything's a bit more forced and a bit more, or I'm a bit weary of it, and I'm a bit frightened of it, and that sort of thing. And those often they just don't understand the language, they don't understand hashtags, they just don't understand the world. So you have to, and they're frightened of breaking something, so you have to hold their hand through it and explain to them, or let them observe you, and you do some stuff and they watch it and they learn it over time, and then they become good at it. Then what I always try and explain to those people, it's a bit like learning a new software or a new system or whatever. It's a bit like going on holiday and trying to go find, the place where you get your bread and milk or something, and you haven't got a clue where you are. And so, you ask a few directions or wherever, and you go a few routes, and you end up finding the shop. Then you work your way back to the hotel, and then next day you go the same way, and within 2 or 3 days you know the route. and you can tell
Yep.
other people the route, like, and you can show them the
Yep.
route. But it just takes you a bit of time just to get the lay of the land and the direct, get your senses right and all that sort of thing. And I say to that generation that that's what technology is a bit like. Most of the time you can't break anything. You can actually, but not very often. And you just got to work your way through the route. And once you go there a couple of times, it becomes second nature. Before long, you don't even need to be in the country, but you can tell people the route because you've walked it so many times. And like, I'm quite good at remembering stuff, so I give people, like, older entrepreneurs, when they ring me up and they say, oh, I'm stuck with this, I'm stuck with that, whatever, I can, because I've walked the route so many times, I can tell them the journey. So I say to them, oh, you need to scroll there or go, but I'm a detailed person as well. So I like to delve into 100% of what something does, whereas most people only ever look at 50, 60, 70%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
they're missing the 30%. And often the real tricks are in that 30%. Yeah.
Exactly. I do the same thing. Like, I'm using StreamYard. I was using Zoom. So I mean, I've come to a whole new platform because it's got different things that I didn't have before. And and when I edit, I can do other things that, too, because I learned different things, different programs. I'll be 51 next month, so I'm a little that upper age group you were talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I love learning, so it's a little bit different. But some
Yes, it's a little
people,
bit different. If you're really into tech, you'll get into it. But
yep,
I'm just generalizing there. But the mass of those of that older generation, to me, just don't like delving in the areas that I do because they're a little bit worried about breaking into things, breaking things and that. They're
yep,
just a bit. They're a bit. They don't go into the settings and look what you can change and what you can't change and
right,
things like that. And I do the same with the mobile phone. I want to know everything the phone does. I don't want to know 60% of what it does because that 20, 30, 40% that I don't know, maybe the next big thing I want to be using, and
absolutely, yep.
yeah, and I'm the same with apps. I do a lot of my work on a phone. And so, like, my phone is full of apps constantly, and I test some, and then, and also, over time, I keep up with the latest things. So sometimes to do something new, you got to drop something or narrow that down a little bit, but I tend to try and keep everything going. But you prioritize which is the one I'm going to put most of my time in, which is the next one, and you work your way down the priority list of all of the marketing tools available to you. But to me, there's so many people who are operating out of the marketing tools that they've been using for years, and there's so many new stuff come along, but they haven't got the time and the inclination to look at that new stuff. So they're still doing stuff old school ways when they could get a lot more traction, just pivoting and moving towards some new school, as a lot of businesses have done during COVID because they were forced to. And all of those people I've been speaking to are great and thankful that they've done it. They're thankful for that pivoting, but you don't have to wait for a crisis to come along to pivot your business and move towards something new or innovative or creative. You can just do it at any time you choose to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you say about, being a lifelong learner and stuff like that too, because it's so important to be able to better yourself all the time. And with apps, with the computer software you use, microphone that you use, and podcasting, I guess, or, and YouTube, those type of things. What I wanted to ask this though, what is your advice to somebody like on podcasting, YouTube, those things? How do you gain an audience that way? What is the differences between that and marketing a product?
Yeah, well, building an audience is a tough slog. It is a hard graft. So that's one, you have got to be patient. You've got to be persistent, consistent. Yeah. And you've also got to leverage everything that you can, to leverage. Leveraging is an important aspect of life. So if, for example, you have a real world customer base, and leverage that via, email signatures, email marketing, drive them to your channel to look at your content and get them to subscribe. Yeah. If you've got an audience in other social media platforms, then market your channels, your podcast or your YouTube channel in all of those other platforms. Yeah. If you're part of an association or a network, when you're out communicating with people, drive traffic to that YouTube channel and podcast. Yeah. If you've got marketing material, put your YouTube and your podcast and easy ways of people being able to find you, put that on your business cards, your leaflets, your brochures, your email signatures. You've got to use everything you can. If you're a shop or a business or something where there's a flow of people coming to it, give them, an incentive to fill in a card or something, with their details, or give them an incentive that, if they get into a prize draw, if they subscribe to your channel and put a comment on or something. Everyone,
Yep.
you just got to be creative and find lots of different ways of drip, 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 feeding and building that audience slowly, slowly, slowly. And eventually you'll hit a critical mass and people will join because others have joined. So it's about finding the tipping point and just working hard and being creative and trying every angle you can to subscribe for subscribe, like for like, on Facebook pages and stuff. There's set yourself up Facebook groups, for your niche audience who would love your podcast, and within that Facebook group. So I use Facebook groups as a bit like fishing nets at sea.
Yep.
You sit in the ocean and just
I
go
do
back
too.
a couple of days
Yep.
later. And again, you can advertise your podcast and stuff there. Plus, also, a lot of people don't understand. I do SEO, search engine optimization.
Yeah.
A lot of people think search. Yeah, so people only think you can do SEO with their own website, but actually you can optimize any URL on the internet. And optimizing means link spreading and link sharing and driving traffic to it and all of that. So actually, anything I appear on, I'll link spread that thing if I'm happy for that to appear in the search engines. So I'm all about domination, really, not competition. It's about just dominating your space, becoming the key person of influence in your space, becoming the person who is the Hoover, or the Dyson or the Ford. The people who they talk about your brand as when they refer to the product rather than the product, because your brand is so known in that sector that that's what everyone refers to it as. And so that's what I'm about doing. And it takes a long time to do that. You can't just outgun everyone else. Yeah, just easy. You've got to work at it, and build it. Yeah, and you've got to be persistent, consistent, and just create more action and more activity than other people are doing. So, I'm on that drip, drip, drip feed. And eventually when people see that I become an overnight sensation, they'll realize that I become an overnight sensation. But I've been working on it for however long it took me to get.
That's such a misnomer, the overnight sensation, because I've had some people out here. Yeah, it's 15 years, but yeah, overnight sensation.
Yeah, because people. It takes a long time to get to the top of the search engines. I've been working on trying to become the first Mike Armstrong on Google for a long time, and I cracked it. I am the first Mike
That's
Armstrong on
awesome.
Google. Yeah,
That's
I'm
a
also,
common name. That's not easy to do because it's very common.
Yeah, there's 1,700 Mike Armstrongs on LinkedIn, and I'm the number one Mike Armstrong on LinkedIn too, by the way.
Wow.
So, and there's a lot of CEOs and comedians and the famous people, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's famous people who probably should be higher up than I am, but I'm just more strategic,
You work at it harder.
and I work at it harder, like, So yeah, that's something I can help people with, is getting towards the top of various different platforms. But then a lot of people would be like, oh great, I'm number one now, that's it, rest on their laurels, I've achieved. I'm not happy until I'm the 10 on page one. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Because ultimately they still might not go to number one. They might go to number two or number three. I think I may be number three, as well as, and I try and find as many different angles as possible to be wherever it is. And I don't want to be just there for Mike Armstrong as well, but I want to be there for business mentor, podcaster, all the things I do. I want to be there for that. And so it's a constant, never ending battle and journey, really. But I love that. I'm quite glad I never had a very unusual name, because I would have been lazy, because I could have been top of the search engines without having to do anything.
True.
And therefore I wouldn't master the art of how to get there. So I got much more skills because of the fact that my name's quite common. Yeah. It's not as common as like, Mark Williams or Mark Davis, or there's
close. It really is. I mean, it is a very common name, and to rank number one in that name, that's an accomplishment.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
If you have someone that started their own business, and maybe it's brick and mortar business even, and they have a lot harder time marketing through Facebook and different places on the internet than than online people do. What would you do with those type of clients that kind of really have no clue of what the online space is? It's not as prevalent as it was before COVID, but I think that it's still the brick and mortar people are still kind of like, okay, TV ads, radio ads, get my face on a billboard type thing like that. And those are the things they got to go for.
Yeah, well, what I would say with that is basically if you're spending money on things like radio, TV, newspapers, then you're addicted to that advertising and you're reliant on it. And the moment you stop, your business, you haven't got a business. You can't run your business without having to continue those payments. Whereas if you grow your business with organic, online advertising, and you own that audience. So with the TV, the newspaper, the magazine, all those other channels, that you're renting their audience every time you pay for the advertising. You're renting access to be able to communicate to that audience. So you have to just keep renting, otherwise you've got no audience. Whereas any of the online stuff that I teach, it's all about organic reach and grabbing your own audience, so that in the long term you can actually turn off the expenditure. You have to spend a lot of time or a lot of money with somebody like me to build that audience up, but then you can stop spending. You can have your payment breaks. You know what I mean? You're not going to keep spending,
Mhm.
and actually, like with TV, newspaper, and that, it's all about what you say to them, and whatever's all dictated to by guidelines, and by you having to create advert and copy and all of that. Whereas with your own audience, you're in charge of the station, you're in charge of the channel. You say what you want into your audience, etc. So there's more flexibilities and that sort of thing. You also can actually start selling your audience to partners and collaborators if you wanted to, as long as you're governed by GDPR and data, etc. But you're allowed to bring some other people's programming into your audience and
Yep.
make some money off that as well. So there's just control is a good thing to have in business. Assets are a good thing to build in business. And ultimately, what I would say is if you're going to spend money renting somebody else's crowd and building their asset base, etc., then you're better off investing in your own crowd and your own asset base and something you have long-term control over. It's the reason why, as well, I like to spread my risk in marketing my content across multiple platforms, because I don't own the online stuff either. So even though they're my own community that I can communicate to, I also like to send people to my website, for example, and to my blogs and stuff which I do own outright the ownership of, because even though I'm building audiences which are my audiences, still if Facebook shut down, these things are unlikely to happen. But if Facebook shut down, or they decide to lock you out, or they want to start charging you money for showing the audience, then all of a sudden your audience isn't worth so much. There are a lot of businesses now who have found that some of the social media platforms are not doing and delivering for them what they used to, because they're trying to make it difficult for you to make money out of these platforms, because they want you to pay for them to help you make money out of the platforms. So I'm into it again, spreading your risk, if you like, to not putting all your eggs in one basket, and just making sure that you have a decent split of stuff, partnership sites, owned sites. And if you want to do a bit of rent a crowd into some places where there's some crowds as well there's nothing wrong with that either. A nice healthy mix and balance to your marketing and sales strategy is the best way to go in life and in business, I would say.
You know what? I love the thing that you said about renting an audience. I thought that was profound, because a lot of people don't understand that, if they're advertising through a certain thing, that's not really your audience. And to create an organic audience that follows you wherever you go is a much smarter idea, because once you stop paying, the audience is gone. And so renting is a really good term for that instead of marketing.
Yeah, and also as well, a lot of gurus. I listen to a lot of people saying, don't do too many social medias. Concentrate on one or two or three, and really smash them. Which is great from putting all your energy into things that are going to work for you, and don't spread yourself too thin. But what happens? I know lots of people who, for example, they're Instagram stars or they're YouTube stars, and they're making their livelihood out of those platforms, and then they get blocked or they get banned or they get censored, or and sometimes not even for anything wrong that they've done, but just because these systems are faceless, nameless, customer service-less organizations, and
Yep.
you can't actually dispute anything with them as well. So as you probably can tell by my energy in this area, I've had some things lost along the way myself as well. But
Yep.
spreading the
We have.
risk.
Okay, there we go. We just had you freeze for just a second. No big deal. We'll just
Okay.
go and roll with it. Tell
Yeah,
me a
no
little bit.
problem.
I love the passion that you have about this because I agree with you. But I think you should learn each platform maybe first. Do you know what I mean? To really get good at one and then move on to the next one and move on to the next one until you incorporate all. Or do you think it's wise to try to learn them all at the same time?
Well, I think so. That approach that you said was the way I've done it because I've always learned each new platform as they've been launched. But
Mhm.
I was lucky to, if you like, go through the whole journey from start to finish. If I was an entrepreneur now, just starting off, then I wouldn't say actually do one at a time. I'd probably say, start off with two or three of the big ones, get
Okay.
them going and get some momentum going, and then start with a few more, over time. Because the thing is, different products and services. People always tell me that, what's your magic bullet? What's the secret recipe to sales and marketing? And I always tell them there's no magic bullet. Unfortunately, all products and services are different. All target audiences are different. There's no guaranteed way of doing stuff. The biggest guaranteed way of doing stuff is just keep at whatever you're doing. That's the best thing. But not keep at it if it's not getting any results. So therefore, you've got to measure everything you're doing. So to me, the secret of sales and marketing is try everything, measure everything, do more of the stuff that works and less of the stuff that don't work. That's the
Right.
secret.
Kind
Yeah.
of like the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
the the
Generally.
the concept of, what's working and let's do that. Let's pour 100% more into that than we do the other stuff that isn't, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, and how can people who are only using, say, three platforms, how can they judge that they're getting the best use out of their time, money, whatever, if they haven't used five other platforms and therefore they don't know if those five platforms are better, worse, equal to, or whatever to what they're doing now? Until you actually tried it, you don't know. So
Right.
you, I'm into trying everything, testing everything, analyzing everything, doing more of the stuff that works, less of the stuff that don't, getting
Mhm.
as much learnings from that as I can, and teaching that and passing that on to other people. So, and I never, when I give advice, I never say, you know, this is what I would advise you to do, or this will always work. What I tell is based on my findings, this is what worked for me.
Right.
Yeah, because I'm always the guinea pig. I'm happy to be the guinea pig for everything that I do, and then I'm willing to pass on that learning to other people. But it's always with the caveat that's how I did it, and this is what I learned from it, and this is what I think could work for you. But until you actually apply it with your product and service and brand and wherever, there's no guarantees because everything is different. You know?
And everyone is different. I think this is a point to bring up as well is like, you can't give them your energy and your drive and your determination either.
No.
You can give them a formula all day long, but if they just don't want to do anything, that's a difficult point too.
Yeah, and
That's tough.
uh, yeah, and that's where I say mindset is like one of my most important attributes, and that's the one thing that doesn't matter how many books you read, it doesn't matter how much stuff you learn. If you've got the wrong mindset, you might as well just not bother learning anything because you're not going to apply any of the things you've learned anyway. So you might as well save the time. So actually, every single coaching course, every single training and learning video and all the content is useless unless the person listening to it has the mindset to actually do something
Yep.
about their situation
Yep.
and to do something.
Implementation.
Yeah, and the implementation. So ultimately I think there should be a mindset element of question answer and training prior probably to most training courses.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. People think there's a get rich quick pill or something or, magic bullet, like you had said. It's hard work. Yeah, maybe these things work. You know what I'm saying? To get you there a little faster, but you have to put in the work and learn and know that it may not work right away. And
No.
people just like, hey, if it didn't happen in 2 weeks, I'm done.
That's it. Yeah, yeah. That's the biggest concern that I had with the human race, especially prior to COVID. I think COVID may actually have helped the human race out a little bit.
I
I think
agree.
it's given people that bit of the old World War II mentality. People who were involved in the war, and that generation, and then the generation below them were brought up tougher because the war generation was bringing them up, and the next each generation was getting softer and softer and softer. And sometimes you need like a global pandemic to actually let people realize that everything isn't taken for granted. Things aren't easy. Life is hard, and actually, you've got to sometimes just pound the streets or knock the doors or just go through the process. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I beat the drum for that too as well. I mean, I think that people think things are just way too easy sometimes, and we have the microwave society, the fast food, drive through, get it now, instant gratification type stuff that is the worst mindset for internet business, especially because it is a slow build. It is not overnight, and you have to stick with it, stick to it, keep testing, keep doing, and eventually you do make it. But right
Yeah.
away, no, it takes perseverance.
Yeah, the other thing is as well, we live in this society where everyone sees the trailer, not the movie. So,
Mhm.
there's always one exception to the rule, and then everyone wants to be that exception, but what
Yep.
they don't understand is probabilities. You know what I mean? Like I live my life by probabilities. I make calculated risks all of the time. So I'm a Libra, and at the end of the day, I
I
weigh up
am too. That's weird. Okay.
Oh, we're very similar people by the sounds of it, and we're both
Yeah.
Libras as well. So, I think we're both doing similar sort of things and have similar views of the world, etc.
Mm.
Which is actually quite rare. You don't meet many people. I don't meet many people like me very often, but actually, I've met a lot more of them during the pandemic since I've been global networking and podcasting, etc. Because they say birds of a feather flock together, and I suppose it's the energy waves and stuff. I'm pulling and connecting with a lot more people on my level because they're not in Wales, for example.
Yep.
Wales is quite a small country, and I do a lot of networking in Wales. But the big thinkers and the entrepreneurial people and the into tech and that, there's not many of them in Wales. There's not
Mhm.
many of them in the UK, but I'm picking them. I'm finding them in Texas and in California and in New York, and I'm finding them in South Africa and in
Yeah.
Australia, and
Yeah, me too. I mean, the Kiwis, there's some people in New Zealand that are amazing. There's people in Australia that I know now personally that are, oh man, just they're just go-getters, and I seem to pull those type of people to the show. I think you do too. I seen a
yeah.
couple of your shows, so I had to I had to do a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I've had some awesome people on my show. I'm speaking to whenever possible. I try and get global speakers on my show because that's what I'm on a mission to become. And the more I can speak with them and interact with them and ask them questions, the better. I'm always thinking in multiple hats and multiple streams. So,
Right.
I'm doing a lot of networking at the same time as I'm podcasting and zooming, and I'm also
Yep.
interviewing, and I'm looking to build a global community, a
Yep.
mastermind. So
I agree.
I'm thinking with multiple hats all of the time, and obviously the people I connect with, I'm promoting their business at the same time, so offering them value, so building up that start of that trust process is so many things going on in
And
one
it's so
time.
much fun too. I mean, it's
Oh
just
yeah,
amazing. You get this feeling when you meet somebody online, you've never talked to this person before, and that's why we're in this. And then all of a sudden you just click like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's the same as me," pretty
yeah.
much. And it's really really something special. But I want to get to this point. I want you to tell everybody where you can be found. If you have a group, a Facebook group, your podcast, tell everybody where you can be found. Mike, please.
Yeah, so I put my username in on this StreamYard as hashtag Mike Armstrong.
There you go.
If you Google search hashtag Mike Armstrong, you'll find all the places that I am. Yeah. Obviously, if you go on any social media and look for hashtag Mike Armstrong, you'll find me too. If you Google search Mike Armstrong, UK, Wales, Cardiff, you'll find me. In the UK, you can just search Mike Armstrong. I'll be number one. Around the world, around from the US, now I don't know where I appear when just searching for Mike Armstrong. My guess is the ones in America will probably be above me. But in the UK, I'm the number one Mike Armstrong in the UK. But if you Google search Mike Armstrong Wales, Mike Armstrong Cardiff, Mike Armstrong UK, you'll find me. I'm on all social media platforms as Mike Armstrong and Michael Armstrong because I like to market at least double what I can do on one account without overstepping the mark. So I go on as most accounts as two people, at least two different people, Mike
Yep.
Armstrong and Michael, and I'm known as both. I usually got some other experimental accounts as well on most platforms as well. And then I market under the brand name Welsh Biz in Wales to all my Welsh business community. So I'm known as that. I've got a website, which is mikearmstrong.me. I've got a
Nice.
podcast, which is anchor.fm/Mike-Armstrong9. I got a LinkedIn account, which is www.linkedin.com/in/Mike Lee Armstrong. Um, what else I got? I got a Mike Armstrong YouTube channel. I don't know the URL for that because it's a long one with funny letters in, so it's not
Yes, it
one.
is.
It's not a
But you
that
know
big
all
one.
this right off the top of your head. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Oh,
Uh,
you know your stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I know URLs and passwords and usernames for like a lot of my clients as well. Like, I'm a bit like Rain Man. I get it in my head because
Yeah,
I
see?
don't, I don't like admin and paper and all of that. So I'd rather get it in my head because then I am going to keep scrolling through books and stuff looking for it and all that. So yeah, I do a lot of web design and SEO, and if you get one thing wrong, it's wrong. So it's either right or it's wrong. It's got to be 100%. So I nail it 100% because it's just got to be nailed. I know loads of URLs in my head. I got a URL, like one of those Filofax things that you just scroll
A
through.
Rolodex.
Yeah, Rolodex. Yeah, I got one of them, but it's in my head. I just got to
Right.
scroll through. um, if it's something I create myself, I have a formula which allows me to get much more content in my head than people would be amazed how you can get that much content in your head. But when you work into a formula, then it's much easier. But when I'm working with other people's username and passwords and URLs, it gets a bit more complex.
Oh, sure. Sure it does. Well, and I just appreciate you being on today. It's such a fun conversation. We didn't really plan anything. We just kind of just went with it. And I love those because it's very organic. I appreciate you being here. So everybody that's on YouTube, you can like the video and hit the subscribe button and thumbs up everything. And after that, probably need 5 minutes or so to take a break or because that was a lot of work.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. But thanks, Mike, and you have a wonderful day. Everybody out there, thank you for listening, and we're out.